of Miyazaki Made 2019. What happens when an airline company approaches one of the most renowned animators in the world and asks said animator to work on a collaboration project with them? You get this movie. Intrigued? Good, because today's review is on that movie. And given that this movie is one of the more recognizable Ghibli films, I think it's only fitting that it be first on the chopping block for Miyazaki May this year. So, with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's review on Porco Rosso. This installment in the Ghibli canon follows a rogue World War I pilot turned bounty hunter named Porco Rosso, who, after fleeing from a battle, is turned into a pig. After going toe-to-toe with an American pilot named Donald Curtis, his plane is destroyed, forcing him to turn to a close friend in Italy, where he's wanted by the government, to repair it. The friend agrees to do so, but the only catch is that the project be headed by his granddaughter Fio. On top of that, Porco ends up coming short in payment for the repairs and winds up in debt. Regardless, the plane is repaired and Porco is able to leave with Fio, who goes with him as a means to repair or make adjustments to the plane if need be. Soon, they're caught by pirates and Curtis, who plan to kill him and destroy the plane. But thanks to some clever persuasion, Fio convinces Curtis and Porco to fight it out with a duel. If Porco wins, his debt will be paid off in full by Curtis, and if Curtis wins, he marries Fio. To make a long story short here, Porco wins the fight and everyone goes their separate ways. It was definitely the action-packed adventure I had expected it to be, like any other film. Most, anyway. It wasn't flawless, as you'll see in a minute. This was a film that I knew somewhat about and kept a pretty open mind going into it for the first time. And as I expected, it was a fun adventure movie. But there were a few problems with it that were hard to ignore. Overall, I give Porco Rosso a 75. Like any other Ghibli film, Porco Rosso delivered when it comes to animation. The backgrounds in the movie were just stunning to look at. Then again, with a Ghibli film, that's to be expected. But maybe because the movie has this theme about flying and aircrafts in the sky, but the backgrounds here were particularly beautiful. It has this nice, relaxing feel to it, despite the fact that it is an adventure movie. I also loved the animation of the planes and the dog fights. It's all very fluid and realistic. There's a really neat scene in particular where Porco finds himself in what I equate to as the film's idea of heaven, and just above him is this huge stream of planes. It's all really cool to watch. But again, Ghibli films are known for this kind of thing, so I guess that shouldn't come as a surprise. And of course, the English casting was well done. You have Michael Keaton as Porco Rosso. Yes, people, Batman plays a pig, and he gives a pretty good performance. Though, he seems to play animal-themed characters a lot, so it must be a thing. You also have Cary Elwes of Princess Bride fame playing Curtis. And trust me, it's a hard fact to take in that Wesley plays an American with a Southern accent. In fact, to this day, it is still impossible for me to imagine that Wesley plays an American with a Southern accent. It was also interesting to hear some familiar voices from other Ghibli dubs make an appearance as well. It makes me wonder if Susan Egan and David Ogden Stiers were just regulars for Disney's Ghibli dubs, especially considering they both go on to play major supporting characters in Spirited Away. And yes, Dad, Charles Winchester lent his talents to anime. But you could say that he got to Tokyo like he wanted to. Don't ask why I did that, people. Just go with it.
Overall, the animation and voice acting were spectacular, but to be fair, I've yet to see a Ghibli movie that didn't deliver on either of these areas.
Another thing that I really enjoyed about this movie was that it was actually pretty funny. And I know for a Ghibli film that doesn't sound like much, but seriously, this film had its comedy down.
The comedic moments in this movie, though not anything spectacular, were pretty entertaining and could get any audience of any age laughing. Whether it's a group of little girls who are excited about being taken hostage, bizarrely prepared ships, or even a band of incompetent seaplane pirates. The leader of them, voiced by Ray's brother, Brad Garrett. There were moments in this movie that just had me dying with laughter. Many Ghibli films have some good funny moments, but I don't think any of them could be considered comedies. If nothing else, they're laid back enough to let the comedic moments come naturally. Porco Rosso, on the other hand, could very well be seen as a comedy. Even with all the great action going on, this film knew how to be funny without overshadowing anything else going on.
So, like other Ghibli films that I've reviewed before, it gets pretty high marks in regards to animation and its English casting. But there were still a few problems with it that really kept me from seeing it as one of the more renowned masterpieces of Ghibli that people seem to make it out to be. And a lot of that, believe it or not, focuses squarely on Porco Rosso himself.
Now, to be clear, Porco is not a bad character. Far from it. He's entertaining, he's sympathetic, and delivers some pretty good lines in the movie. But the problem is just his very concept. The fact that he's a pig and is plagued by this curse. The curse itself that turned him into a pig is not very well explained and isn't even mentioned that much in the movie. All we know is that it happened when he fled from a battle and watched his friends die. And that's it. We don't even learn how the curse can be broken, or even if it can be. Oh, wait, who am I kidding? They hint at it at the end of the movie that his curse might have been broken. But even then, it's debatable and comes out of nowhere.
So yeah, Porco Rosso is a pig because why not?
And I feel like that's a shame because this would have been a fascinating plot point to expand on and would have added to Porco's character a little more. But nope, none of it is taken advantage of. It's just something that happens and it's there. And sure, it's not entirely a bad thing that the movie went with this approach, but these are two plot elements involving one character that either needed more detail to them or you'd have to change something about the plot itself to make it fit. That is, you'd have to have Porco breaking the curse official canon to the story, or you'd have to add some other plot point and make the world of the film be dominated by anthropomorphic pigs or something else really weird. I don't know. In fact, the end credits imply that that was the original angle of the movie.
There's a lot of ways that this could have been resolved, but bottom line is that the curse should have had a stronger prevalence in the film when really it didn't.
Because the film didn't delve any further into the curse except for that it's just there, it comes off as being, well, just there. And again, it's kind of a shame that it's treated like that because it could have taken the plot in many different directions.
And speaking of the show's plot, it's done kind of weird.
When I first watched this movie, it looked like it was going to be this action-adventure film with Porco Rosso as the hero and Curtis as the villain. But when his plane gets destroyed and he goes to the friend to get it repaired, it slows down and it almost seems like it's going to be about Porco and Fio's budding relationship as partners. Working partners, mind you. But then we go back to Curtis and the pirates and this whole thing about a sea pilot's duel gets shoehorned in somewhere in the end. And yeah, I don't think I've seen a Ghibli film with a plot that goes all over the place since Howl's Moving Castle. And the problem with this is that many Ghibli films are character driven. That is, the characters are what move the movie along, not a story. So something like Spirited Away can get away with being everywhere because it's more about what the characters are experiencing rather than a constructed story. But every once in a while, you get films like Princess Mononoke and Nausicaa that have very clearly defined stories. Which brings me to Howl's Moving Castle. While I love the film, as it is one of my favorite Ghibli movies of all time, this was the one Ghibli film that tried to combine the character-driven and plot-driven elements found in Ghibli films, but didn't do it very well.
That is until I saw Porco Rosso.
This film tends to play fast and loose with both elements, and it clearly shows. Again, much like the curse element, it should have stuck with one and went with it. Either go the character-driven route, like most Ghibli films, and focus on Porco's adventures, or have a constructed story. Now, I'm not saying that it was terrible because of this. I just thought that it tried to be two different things simultaneously, and it just didn't work. Though, to be fair, I don't think there was that much put into this film from the beginning, especially when you get into the film's backstory. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the film came about when Japan Airlines approached Miyazaki to make a short for them to show in flight to passengers. They gave him no specifics on what he could or couldn't do with it, so he certainly was at liberty to do whatever he wanted with it. So I guess you get what you get in the case of this film. I just wish I got a little more structure out of it.
Overall, Porco Rosso is a fun and funny adventure film that is sure to please any otaku, Ghibli fan, or just anybody who happens to stumble onto it. But like I said earlier, I really wish that this film had just picked something and went on with it, rather than just keep it to the main character is a pig. Which, again, nothing wrong with it, but yeah, you could have done something other than he's a pig. It was a great film and all, just not one of Ghibli's finest. And so that wraps up today's review. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned May 19th for when I do my next Miyazaki May review on The Tale of Princess Kaguya. Till next time, bye!